Welcome to Mike Drops Up Close. We speak to entrepreneurs and thought leaders from all around the globe. Tune in and hit subscribe. Stay informed with inspiring stories from our amazing guests. We get up close and personal, covering subjects from business, marketing, and mindset. Hosted by Michael Kalisperis, a successful digital marketer and property investor.
Welcome to Mike Drops Up Close, and we've got Rob Sales here. So welcome, Rob.
Really, hello. How you doing?
Amazing. Yeah, it's brilliant to have you here, mate. Just explain to the audience that Rob is basically someone we connected with within a similar sort of background as myself. A really top guy, really genuine. I always watch what he's doing. He's a really great guy. I mean, the last time I connected with you was pretty recently, actually, to be fair. But yeah, we just want to pick your brains and go up close with you, Rob, if that's fine with yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything you want to ask.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, I mean, as the title suggests, we want to get up close and find out a little bit of how you started in your career, and how you found it, and what you found beneficial for people, wanting to do something similar or starting business like yourself. So where did you start?
So I was actually in uni, final year of uni, doing a music course, which was a little bit of it was production, some of it was actual performance. There's a load of video stuff that we were doing, a load of studio stuff that we were doing. I still do music now. It's still a massive part of me, and the same with video. But there was a tiny little module in my final year course. This was, 94, 95, called the internet. And I'm like, what is the internet? And I remember my tutor goading me, because we'd just come out of doing a week's worth of studio recording and editing and production, and we were doing some videos, putting everything together. And he was like, it's going to be the future. You're going to be able to put your videos out on computers and other people all around the world are going to see it. And I'm like, no, this is and I fell in love with the whole concept. I went out of the music industry, where I'd started getting a bit of a name for myself. Done some singles and done some album work and worked with quite a lot of big names, a lot of live work, Snow Patrol, Spice Girls, all that sort of stuff. I was involved with that whole thing in the late 90s, which was cool in itself. But I'm like, no, I need to go and do this stuff. I bounced around a load of digital agencies, basically just doing junior stuff, developer, designer. I'd worked my way up to project management and account management. I then started running big studios, big teams of just independent companies. Dot-com bubble happened, and a lot of businesses went under, really struggled with stuff. Marketing budgets got stripped. So I went and worked for a corporate. I, at this point, was doing digital strategy, so high-end corporate digital strategy stuff, and it burnt me out. I spent 8 years there, and I remember probably in the last 6 months, as we were coming up to another round of restructures, and I was looking after a team of 200 people, doing all the strategy stuff for a big insurer. And I remember finding myself over and over again, getting out of meetings as quick as I could, and going and either hiding in the toilet or going for a fag break or going to get early lunch. And I realized what I was doing. I was trying to escape. I didn't have at that time the kind of insight into my own behavior to go, you're trapped. You're like a trapped animal just trying to get out.
Yeah.
And when the last round of redundancies came through, my wife, for probably 3 months, had said, every time you come home from that long commute after a hard day doing corporate stuff, you are grey. You're there's no personality left. You're just a shell of yourself. And I remember sitting on the beach near our house and just going, something's got to change. So when the redundancy came around, I literally grabbed it. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I just grabbed it, and I thought, you know what, I've kind of done freelancey bits all the way through my employment career with other people. I've done little bits of web design, I've done this and I've done that. Maybe I can do something with that. And this was about 3 years ago, and I literally just stepped into this big, cold, brave new world.
I know, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like, this is it. And honestly, I think for the past 3 years, I've had some epic failures, some massive learnings.
I think it's really important for people to grasp and understand that, because you know, like you, I had a very similar situation when I worked at the BBC doing websites. And you know, it was a big institution, great people, really great friends there, great connections and so on. But you know, there comes a point when you just, you know, I like that feeling. I was feeling it as you were saying it, because I was like, I was there with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's very easy to assume that it's very straightforward and you can just, it's this really cool, you know, place to be. But at the end of the day, if you're not fully, completely comfortable and you want to get escape, you need to just escape and just do it. It's risky and scary, but you just got to just do it. And
and it was around about the same time that Dad got diagnosed with cancer, and he went downhill pretty fast. The relationship that we had when I was a kid was really rubbish.
Right.
That period that we went through for about a year before he died, he really opened up about his own shortcomings and his own failures and how he was a workaholic, and he knew that he didn't, you know, raise us as a family in the way that really he should have done. There was a lot of regret, a lot of making up. I mean, we became very, very close in that period, and I kind of understood him, and I understood, you know, me as an imprint of him growing up. I understood my own behaviors, and it really, really got me thinking, exactly as you say, it's like, you have one life. You need to step back and look at how you feel about yourself and the situation, but actually take responsibility for the fact that you get up in the morning, you go to that job, and you live for the weekend and say that you hate it and dread Monday morning. You're the only one that can really, truly take responsibility for that and do something about it. And it might be terrifying. And it might be weird, and you might not know what you're doing. And if you've gone through education and you've been in a job for 20 years, effectively you're shielded from so many things. You're just, you know, kind of following a single process, but it's not the only way of living your life. And sometimes you have to go out there and do something where you know that there's a vision, you know, there's a goal, there's a reason why you're doing it. You have no idea how you're going to get there, and that's completely different to having a job where you get a salary at the end of the month.
And
if it's killing you, if it's crushing you, you need to go and do something else.
And there must be so many people like that out there, even now, where they feel that way. I mean, and I think it's really important to focus on the fact that sometimes we can have that aspiration to do that, but sometimes actually where you are is quite good as well. And it's really important for people to understand, actually, sometimes it's not changing the place you're in or the job you're in, but change your mindset and actually start saying to yourself, I love Mondays now. You know, it'd be great to get to see my colleagues at work, because sometimes people take the leap and they've taken it too early. Or you're forced. I mean, I used to really be exactly that person, and then my son was made severely disabled, and then I found myself in hospital, like non-stop, not being able to provide for my family, and then I was like, wished none of this would happen, and I was back at work.
Yeah.
You know, that same place I was like wishing I didn't have to work at. You know, and sometimes, like, I've changed my career through being forced. My reason why, my son, as I told you, international bestseller. My little Spartan, little plug there. But yeah, basically, and it's my reason why. And you have the similar reason why with what happened to your situation. And I think it's really touched home as well, because what you mentioned with your dad, and you find yourself being workaholics. And even now, as a marketing guy and a designer myself, you do end up being a bit of a workaholic, even if you try not to. It's just really important to claw that back as much as you can, because, like you say, it's really important to see how you were affected with your own father, and how we might be doing the same thing with our own kids.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, my son's birthday was yesterday. 23 years old.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. He's still got all his limbs, so we must have done but, you know, when I look back, probably 2 years backwards,
Yeah.
a lot of the behaviors and a lot of the upbringing that he had from me, very, very similar to what I had with my dad. You know,
Yeah.
I was grafting, I was coming home grey, I was finding excuses to not go out and play football or do something at the weekend.
Yeah.
Running my own business has been crazy long hours for the past couple of years, like 4 a.m. starts through to whenever certain things needed done, as I'm trying to work out all the moving pieces and scale the business.
And there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, but it always comes down to kind of knowing yourself and the situations. And as you say, learning more the mindset things than the technical things of running a business, but that there is a fundamental reason why you are doing it. And if it is for your family, then you have to learn how to switch off. You have to learn that there is a clear line between you as the business owner and you as the family man or the dad. And that, you know, if you have to have it on a great big poster on your wall, or you have to meditate about it first thing in the morning, or remind yourself when you go to bed at night, or when you walk out the door frame, you know, the difference between your business and you as a man and you as a dad and you as an individual, that is always there. You're always reminding yourself of your real reasons for doing it. Because I think as well, when you do run a business, when you're trying to, you know, get it off the ground and make it successful and all the rest, you're going to have so many hurdles. So many things, something you haven't planned for hits you, a client drops out, or you've got an unexpected bill to pay, or, you know, a member of staff's ill, or whatever kind of position that you're currently in. If you keep your eyes and remind yourself of that yellow brick road and the kind of destination, it's like, yeah, these are problems right now, but actually I'm keeping my eyes on this big thing here. I will work out these problems as we go along, but because I truly believe in my dream, I've got the energy, I've got the mindset to actually deal with it. I just don't know how I'm going to get over this hurdle right now, but, you know, screw it. Maybe by tomorrow it'll be resolved.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of the audience don't know, me and Rob, we had a real long hour conversation before because we're quite geeky and passionate, and yeah, we had a really good conversation before, and we touched a bit on this before. Just naturally, we're supposed to start the live, and we just started chatting away from, you know, because and Rob's a really top guy. I mean, I saw you at the Facebook F8 event, weren't you?
Yeah.
Was it last year? Was it last year? Was it earlier this year?
There's been a few. Yeah, I've done the F8 over in Brussels. I did a load of stuff down in London. I kind of fell into it. It's one of those things, I think, where it was an unexpected networking opportunity, and obviously do a lot of stuff with the ClickFunnels community as well. But all of that was at a pivotal point where Dad was literally on his last legs. And I remember probably the last few things that he ever said before he got the, you know, horrible death rattle, and we realized that he was actually on his way out, was just don't regret stuff. Like, just do something. If you fail doing it, so what? Just don't regret.
What we spoke about, innit? I mean, I'm trying a property, you know, been all right in it so far, but you just don't know. You just don't know. And it's like with all this marketing stuff, you know, we're doing okay, but again, there's still things that can just turn up, and you just don't know.
I know. Well, what happened, the reason why I got into the Facebook stuff and the ClickFunnels stuff and started actually creating quite powerful networks within the digital marketing communities, which is great for authority building, brand awareness, strategic partnerships, all of those kind of things. It all came about a couple of years ago when some of the guys from ClickFunnels had seen some designs that I've been creating for clients and said, we want you to come to this design-a-thon over in, I think that was Boise, Idaho, over in the States. They're like, there's 30 designers. We're all going to get in a room and we're going to just like geek out. We're going to design some really, really cool stuff. And as I say, it was about the time that Dad was really, really, you know, close to dying. And I got my head up my arse about that stuff, and I thought the business really needed me at that point. And I turned around to these guys at ClickFunnels and said no. And you know, when you have a conversation with someone and you say no, and like as soon as the words come out of your mouth and you put the phone down, you're like, shit, why did I say that? And I honestly, I regretted it for days. I moped about my decision, and
But
because
you had that, you were in the right position to say that, though, weren't you?
I was, but because the way that it worked, they were booking
long term. Yeah, you can't stop what was going to happen to your dad, but I can understand the pressure and the thing of wanting to grow the business. And
yeah, it was just one of those. You don't get an incoming opportunity like that from a big organisation to work as a secret insider.
Yeah,
but at that split second, I just said no, and the flights got booked. Someone else got my seat. It was like, you can't change your mind now. This is gone. And it was about 2 weeks later that I went, you know what? A little bit like Richard Branson. Next time an opportunity comes to me to either speak to somebody really cool or get involved in a project that might be interesting or partner with somebody and scale the business, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to risk assess. I'm going to kind of sanity check it within myself. I want to make sure that it fits my dream potentially, that it doesn't kind of veer me right over there. But I'm going to say yes to stuff and work out the details later, which is kind of Branson's big.
Yeah.
You kind of say yes and then you
and then figure out later. Yeah.
And that's what I suppose over the last year or so has helped me catapult into the Facebook Insiders community and also into the ClickFunnels stuff, which as a digital marketer, running an agency, owning a business is kind of, there are obviously other platforms, obviously other systems and products and bits of software out there.
Yeah.
But it's a good start. It's a good indication that if you say yes,
it is one of the big ones out there at the end of the day. As you know, I've used ClickFunnels before, and I still use it for clients. And but I also use a Builderall. I've used Kartra even from was one of Frank Kern's little spinners. But the reality is, as we discussed before, a lot of them are just tools, and people forget that. It's understanding the whole concept of marketing. Your connection with your client is really important. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes actually, it's the skill side of it is not even that important. I've seen people do really well with just their personality.
Agree.
And if they can gel enough, they can actually get the clients. What their goals are, they can project them in their projects more accurately than someone.
Well, yeah, and this is the interesting process that I'm going through now. Is actually, and I think a lot of businesses do this at a key stage. Is I'm getting out of my own way. Which means stopping thinking quite so much like a freelancer or a one-man band, and starting to think and behave like a CEO or a founder, where the vision for the business, obviously matching my own vision and to a certain extent the dynamics of the team and the needs of the team, but the technical stuff, knowing that someone can do stuff. And this is where for me everything started coming full circle. Knowing how to marry creative and technical stuff together, knowing how to build teams that can do stuff. And basically being like at a crazy glass ceiling where my son wasn't really feeling the relationship. I was far too busy designing and building and producing and client managing everything. It's like, I have to get out of my own way. I have to now start to spin up and build a team where I know what they're doing. I know why they're doing it. I'm happy to rubber stamp it and put my seal of quality on the work that our little agency is actually putting out there. But it gives me more time to do all of the things, both personally and in business, that I really need to do, like networking, building great relationships with people. I think when you're running a business, there are so many different things that you're unaware of if you're just an employed person. You have to do everything yourself. And it's like, how much time do you spend doing the admin, chasing the clients, sorting out the finances, doing
crazy, isn't it?
There's a lot of things to do, and I think a lot of people step into this idea of having their own business probably unaware of a lot of that stuff, how much brain power it needs, how much time it's going to take,
and how complex it can be. Clients think you've got these tools and you just do that, and it's done. It's not straightforward.
Not at all. But for me now, it's a position where, you know, it's trying to be the founder. It's trying to be the guy that sets the vision, the guy that has a reputation, will work with a certain sort of client and get a certain sort of result.
Yes.
Actually now, there's a team behind me, and I'm constantly building that team up because it serves my vision. It serves my purpose. I get slightly more family time. You know,
which is obviously
it's trying to do that, and I would have never managed to do that. And I suppose I would leave that with anybody that's thinking about starting a business or thinking about scaling an existing business, is trying to work out how to move out of your own way.
Yes, definitely.
It may come at a cost. You may need to pay people. You may need to get people on a staff or pay contractors or whatever. So that's going to hit your margins. There's a whole load of financial stuff you need to work through. It may be that building out a team so that you actually have a sustainable business and you are the boss of that business means that you need to go and hike your prices up or work for a different sort of client, because the clients you were working for, there's no margin in it for you to, and this is the problem that I've been through, is 90% of my old client base I couldn't continue to service because I'd be working at a loss. My team into work on stuff.
I've been there. But it's about giving nature as well, though. I mean, and there's a balancing act in and that's where people connect with you because you're a genuine person and so on. But there is definitely, I know where you're coming from with the founder situation. I'm at that position myself. I even put a post not long back about, you know, scaling the business and so on, and it's so true what you're saying. And you've got to literally, you can't have these, the reason why these businesses have prices at certain levels is because they've got to keep the business going, otherwise there's no business. And that doesn't serve anyone. If you're going to create a good service and product, it doesn't serve anyone to do that.
No, I was having a chat with a friend of mine. He's got quite a successful business that's linked to renewable energy. I'm not going into massive detail, but anyway, he's linked to renewable energy in the UK and Europe. They've got a team that go out and do stuff, and they were looking, because of the shift patterns. The shift patterns that they've currently got are brutal. It's like 2 weeks solid work away from home, 48 hours off, 2 weeks back on again, and it's like, for the young guys, the inexperienced guys, traveling around, living in hotels, getting a decent chunk of cash is fine. For the more experienced guys that they need, that have got families, that is not sustainable. Like, you know, a dad or a mum, you know, kind of doesn't matter. It could be male or female worker, but you know, the dad is not going to last very long. Without fracturing the relationship with the family with that kind of pattern. What they realised is they needed to change the shift pattern. To change the shift pattern, they needed to bring in more staff because they couldn't rely on 10 people working that. They had to get 20 or 30, but with, you know, like a week on, a week off, but whatever. You can kind of see the
I know, because we've got carers for my son.
Yeah. So they're working through the logistics, and what they realised is that they need to be charging more, and that's like, okay, but your current market won't pay those kind of prices. You now need to reposition, which means you need to redefine your market, redefine your proposition, redefine your products, redefine your pricing, sort out your logistics, your admin, your financing, and all the rest of it. All of that because they were trying to scale. And I think it's a common problem that a lot of businesses have got. When they start out, they think, well, we've got this product or service and we can put this price tag on it and we'll make this margin and it's great for this audience. But what if the audience dries up? Or what if you need to grow? You know, have you got some way that you can sustainably scale? And have you actually thought all those things through? And that's exactly what I'm going through right now, which is exciting, scary. Yeah, it's like every emotion all at the same time. Every morning waking up.
Don't forget, you've been through it before in a different level. And this is the incremental growth that we as businesses need to go through. I mean, like I mentioned briefly before, when I was in hospital, my business had to change. And I actually went to design and print. So I used my skill set from before, and I thought in my head, having a print shop, literally, and I had an outbuilding within my reach.
Yep.
I would literally, it'll be better than being on the computer. For some reason, I had in my head, because it'd be an exchange of, you print stuff out, you do banners, whatever it is, you exchange your money, you can move on quite quickly. There's none of this 30-day business, 60-day business payment sort of plan. That's what I was thinking in my head. So I bought a CNC machine, embroidery machine, a big
Nice.
2 meter printer, a wide printer. And I learned everything myself, because that was a field I didn't know, printing. I learned it. I knew the design, I knew the marketing, websites and so on. But the printing I didn't know. And I did that at the time when my son was like, back home with us, now severely disabled, with 3 hours sleep at night. It was freaking hard. Yeah, you're the designer, you're the account manager, you're the person that goes out to do quotes. You've got to create the product. You get the back and forth stuff, the nightmare, literally the whole thing. And I got 5 out of 5 stars, no problem. My products were great, everything was great, everyone was really happy with the stuff. But it was killing me.
Yeah.
It was killing me. And I think there was a point where I could grow, and what I should have done at that point was actually build a team.
Yep.
But I was too afraid of building a team back then. So in the end, when I sold my house and went into a bit of property investing, I literally just sold all my equipment and just said, right, that's it. I just can't do this. It was just killing me. It's just killing me.
Yeah.
And that feeling of, but it was a win, but a failure at the same time in my head, because all the work, everything I did was successful, no problems there. But the failure was that I actually gave it up. But then I gave it up to take on something else. And I think it's really important when you're starting out in business to understand that actually you got to take things. You can juggle a few things, that's fair enough. But if you really want to make real impact, you've got to focus.
Yep.
And so when I started going into property investing, I focused. So a lot of my property investing guys didn't even know until I came to the end of my my training and everything I did in property. Didn't even know I did marketing and all that kind of stuff, which is testament to the fact that I kind of hid it well, or not really hide it. I just didn't focus on it. I just wanted to focus on one thing. There's that book, The One Thing, and it's really, really, really important to do that. And I think when you're growing up in your business, you've got to mature with it. And I think it takes real hard decisions sometimes as a business owner to give up for the greater good. And I think what you're talking about in terms of like giving up that bit of responsibility, like your team, so you can be the founder, there's a simile there in that next level. And I think we're both at that stage where it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Number 1, for sanity. Number 2, for the business to grow. Number 3, for more productivity and for better customer service, actually.
Yeah.
Because, like me, we've got a good understanding of different areas. We're a bit geeky, we're bold. That really counts for something. But the reality is that we've got a bit of, skill sets here and there. And I think managing teams is actually quite useful to have that, rather than some managers don't come with any sort of knowledge of what the groundwork is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, completely. It was my mentor that shone a bit of a spotlight on that last year. So he helped me. He was looking through my project management, like the work that I was doing. He was looking through the books. He was looking through the patterns of how I engaged potential clients, how I brought them to the business and actually got them signed up, what work we did ahead of the kind of design stages, what design work we did, what production work we did, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, your business is fundamentally flawed. You say that you want to spend more time with the family, but I've been looking through your books. I've been looking through the way that you work. Around about 1/3 of everything that you do is currently non-chargeable because you're doing consulting, kind of planning digital projects, planning marketing campaigns and stuff. You're not charging for that.
It takes time.
Yeah. And he kind of pointed at a few big agencies that are just marketing consultants. They won't produce anything. All they'll do is come up with battle plans and strategies. They'll sit with a client and they'll go, well, this is what you need to do. You need to be doing this with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You need to do that with Facebook. And here's how you run ads and stuff. We won't produce any of it for you. What we'll do is we'll basically help you understand how it works.
Yeah.
We'll charge you for that stage, and then we'll palm you off to someone else to get the production work done.
Yeah.
My mentor's like, can you not see a direct correlation between you being a busy fool
Yeah.
and you actually charging for what you're worth, the value of what you do? Like, effectively, you're undercharging stuff. And I instantly went and changed that. And since then, I've probably quadrupled prices, almost, like the renewable energy concept, because it gives me the headroom to then make another big scary decision, which is to bring a team in where my reputation is sat on their shoulders. But the reason why it feels like it's come full circle is that 20 years that I was working as a studio manager for all these digital agencies, all those skills that I left on the floor when I left that kind of stuff, and then literally picking it back up, and I'm going, right, let's build a team. You know, they might be in India, America, the Philippines, Australia. It doesn't matter if they're physically remote. I've still got the skill sets to build a killer team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I've got the kind of margins to do that and make sure that everybody's well paid for the work and the client's still happy with the results. It becomes a sustainable business, but it's taken 3 years of literally bang, flat.
It's not straightforward, is it? I mean,
pick yourself up, get on with it, bang, flat on your face.
You have to roll with that stuff. Took a really big hit to kind of like get to that realization. And I think a lot of people don't realise the impact that you need really to take that decision, that leap, I guess. And you had obviously in your head, obviously the situation with your father. It's obviously horrible what happened, and we've got, unfortunately, lots of situations with cancer in our family. That it seems to be just everywhere at the minute. It's horrible, but it was nice that you made that connection with your dad, even though it was late, and then it made you grow into a better person yourself and understand. If anything, he taught you something, even at that stage.
Absolutely, but you're kind of right, and this whole thing, I guess, isn't doing stuff in business. Whatever business you do, for me, it isn't about the tactical stuff. It isn't about, oh, you need to do this, or you need to use that, or you need this manufacturing facility, or you need this digital process, or whatever. It's actually about just framing stuff really to go, this is what I truly believe in, this is what I think my life's purpose is. Until I am literally croaking and then put in a wooden box, it's never too late. If I can deal with that feeling of falling over and failing, and I can literally like put myself back on my hands and knees and then learn to stand up and then learn to walk again. That's going to happen over and over and over again. There is no overnight success, but when you can do that to yourself and you believe in your vision and you realize that actually it's never too late until you are literally gone. Everything's in your hands. Everything's there ready for you to take. You just need to be brave enough to actually accept a challenge and go for it.
That's it. And I think a lot of people underestimate their potential. I never thought, being dyslexic, I could write a book. I just never thought in a million years I'd be able to write a book. But I did, and I'm dyslexic, and believe me, I wasn't a reader, and now I'm a reader and all that kind of thing. But the point is, I never thought I could do it, yet put myself to it. With lack of sleep, the situation with my son, I never thought I'd be able to build a property portfolio and a business or a marketing agency, if you say marketing, or even a print business. I never thought I could do that. Like one man on his own with all that stress and no sleep, I never thought I could do it. But it's freaking possible, and it is about perseverance. And you mentioned earlier in our private chat before, which was like practically another interview. But we had you touched on you're going to do a TED talk. Do you want to tell the audience about your TED talk, because it touches on the perseverance kind of thing?
It does. So the TED, I think we're still bottoming out the details, but anyway, it's going to be at some point this autumn, winter time. It's going to be about pushing boundaries. And part of it is about, the northern lad from a bit of a grim, cold town, going through school and going through higher education and going and getting a job and realizing that things aren't quite right. But actually, it's more about, the talk's going to be more about inspiring people, I hope, because that's what I love to do whenever
Yeah.
there's any sort of speaking thing, is just to get people to stop and think about themselves a little bit, and think about whether there's another way of doing things before it's too late, because you don't want to be in a retirement home full of regret. But really, that's what the TED Talk's going to be about, is that it is possible. Yes, it might be scary. Yes, you might not know where to start, but if you've a destination in mind, if you've got a goal in mind, it might be that you need some help. It might be that, you know, one day you have no idea, and then the next day things are clearer, and the day after becomes a bit difficult again. But it's part of that process, I think, of being a human being and actually embracing and taking responsibility for your own life.
Yeah.
Dealing with situations and circumstances around you, but still actually waking up in the morning energized, perhaps feeling daunted, perhaps feeling scared, but actually energized through all of those emotions, that this is yours. Like, nobody else can have.
Yeah.
You are like 1 in 4 billion, or whatever the stats are, that you can actually take this and do something with it if you choose to. So yeah,
and it can really help your mindset, can't it? Because when you got a focus like that you actually love, whether it be property, marketing, or whatever, you know, niche you're in, you know, the shit that hits you in life, and it does, everyone, and we've all got sad situations, whether it hits directly or indirectly with family members and the tentacles of pain, you know, that when you got a focus and a love of some sort, it really does help you keep on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't focus on writing a little bit, like I said, throughout the years, eventually I had a book. I'm not a writer. I wouldn't have had that, but that was giving me some focus. The same with property investing. The same with marketing. I actually am a bit geeky with tools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love that side of things, and I enjoy it. But if I didn't have that, I'd actually be quite depressed, if I'm being honest with you.
I think that, and that's the important thing. And it's, as I say, it's knowing yourself. There was a woman that I used to work with. She was very high up the corporate ladder when I was doing all the big, heavy duty international digital strategy stuff, which was great, but burnt me out because it was corporate stuff and it just didn't suit my personality. She took the redundancy, and she literally went from like high-powered, six-figured, you know, top Jaguar driving London type. She almost retired herself early and started again, and she started making cakes because as a little girl, it's something that she used to do with her grandma, and she absolutely loved it. And she kind of just tapped out the whole corporate thing and went, what is it that I really love? Oh my God, it comes back to my childhood, and it was this thing. And she spent like 6 months just making an absolute, I mean, literally an absolute mess of it, but also, you know, trying to build a business out and all the rest. But now she has learned to lean into her existing network. She gets kind of corporate or very high-end luxury type clients that want to pay a small fortune for these beautiful cakes that she's learned to make, and she is the happiest she's ever been. She's probably never going to make as much as she used to.
Yeah, it's not about money, is it? I mean, this is
no, it's about her quality of life, and her family life is different now. And you know, they live in a smaller house, and they've got, you know, it's much more frugal, but she's just happy, and that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. I mean, we both know the cost of, you know, doing marketing is very expensive. I mean, we talk about cost of services, but when you're paying out these tools, it's like, you know, you get they're about £1,000 a month in theory. You know, you get all the bits that you need just for you to run. And people don't realise the cost of actually being a marketer in that side of things. You know, with the different, you know, where you've got ClickFunnels, whether you've got Infusionsoft, whether you've got, you know, your Kajabi or Webinar Jam, whatever the tools are. You know, people do not realise the cost of these things. And there are other tools out there that I use as well that are really, you know, competitive and so on. But the point is, you know, they cost. And that cost has to be paid for. It's a business cost. And sometimes people don't fully appreciate that, because you're on a laptop, because you're a person and you've got, you know, a virtual team and so on, they don't really fully appreciate you, and you know, like they would if you had a bricks and mortar building with chairs full of clients and physical equipment. But the costs are still there, aren't they? It's really important for us actually to educate people that side of things, and to actually let them know that if they are going to take a leap, there is a cost to take a leap. Because I've seen a lot of people that join, whether it be ClickFunnels forums or whatever forums, and they really are like deers in headlights. Literally, they're startled, they're quite shocked by what all this is, and then they get trapped in their own funnel. Really, and it's good to be in a funnel of some sort because it gives you progression, it gives you ways to grow, mentorship, all that kind of thing. But there comes a point, I think a lot of us get at, where you just, all right, I'm going to step off this and I'm going to start creating. And I think the sad fact is that a lot of people aren't creating as much as they'd like, in these systems.
Sorry, one second.
Yeah, you go for it. You go for it.
The dog's just heard the door.
Mine's downstairs being nice and quiet at the moment. I've been quite lucky, actually.
She normally is, but she's as a little puppy, she's got a thing about the postman. At the minute, it's a love-hate thing, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's really important to keep people grounded as well. Obviously, we'd want it like in a day to be successful, but people starting off in an agency or marketing or even their business from scratch, they've got to be really realistic.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be afraid to tap into people like us or other people for advice. I mean, I know you're very supportive, and I help people a lot. Obviously, we've got constraints on time as well, but we do give a lot. And I think there are people that do give a lot, and they don't necessarily just charge. There's a certain time where you have to sort of like cap it, because time is money, unfortunately. But there is a lot of avenues out there where you can get a lot of free content, a lot of free information, a lot of free, updates, what's going on around the world and in the niches that they're in. And they can start this stuff on a relatively lower budget, but they need to appreciate it does cost. It really does cost. Unfortunately, some people are pushing it as though it doesn't, and that's not helping a lot of people, including themselves. So what would you say for, like, if someone was starting out and they said, right, okay, I've got an idea, okay, I've got a business, I want to start off right now from scratch. What would be your best bit of advice to them? To just the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. I've just run, quite interestingly, I've run a 5-day funnel challenge through my Facebook group.
Okay.
Because that's what I do. I do funnels and strategy. But it was interesting looking at, and I knew it would happen, looking at what was coming back as comments.
Right.
I think if you're starting off a business, the 2 things that I would definitely do, aside from all your administration and scaling and all that stuff, is work out who you're doing it for. Like, I don't mean you as a person, you for your family. I mean, who's your audience? Who's your market? Be really, really clear on who you want to do this stuff for. And then once you've done that, work out what it is about your product or service that actually solves a problem that market has.
Yeah.
Without those 2 things, if you
Totally.
don't know who your buyer is,
Yeah.
you don't know what your product is, everything that you do, all the messages that you send out, the branding that you'll do, your entire marketing machine will probably fail because you're trying to sell somebody something where they don't need it or they don't understand what it's for. So without those 2 things, you're highly likely to fail.
Totally agree. Absolutely spot on. And I think if people do focus on that, truly focus, but not just like on a top level, briefly looking at it, really truly hack it down, like you said, really pinpoint. Then they've got a winning formula. I mean, there are people that have got massive successful funnels, and to explain to some of the audience that don't know what funnels are, websites that direct people through a funnel, a process to a conversion, i.e. a payment. So where there's been people that have been massively successful, could be something really as remote as ex-army, survival in the world, basically in the real world, like as in, like, that could be a funnel for that, or it could be, you're a nail technician. There's literally really specific, but a specific type of nail technician. I haven't got a clue. But I'm giving examples. A lot of these ones are really successful for people that really grab a very small niche that there is a big bubble in the world as a whole for that small niche.
Yeah, there is, and I think that's one of the problems that startup businesses or business owners that probably are running a little bit scared. And I've just come out of some consulting that I'm doing with an international, like a major brand, and we've been redefining the audience, redefining the market, because they were doing what a lot of little startup businesses were doing as well. So it's not like just a startup business.
Yeah,
I see it in very heavily established industry.
yeah, same.
They were going after anybody with a pulse, and it's like, how do you market your product to anybody in the world? If we can narrow it down to 5,000 people where we know exactly what they're interested in, how they think, what they desire, what they want, what they need, if you can actually get that mapped and get that baselined, then everything that you're saying is directly to that person's desire or want.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's like they're talking to their best friend.
Yeah.
And that's how your marketing should be. If you're doing anything broader than that, if you're doing scattergun, then you should expect to pay a lot of money but not necessarily get great results.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of people that do scattergun have to rely on solo ads and things like that. And a lot of solo ads aren't really, they're not really great, a lot of solo ads. So people tend to, just like you say, try and grab as many sort of interactions, engagements as possible.
Yeah.
But it's not really converting, and that costs money, whether it be the advertisement, your time, or whether you're paying specifically for certain sort of adverts and so on. And unfortunately, actually, if people just really focus on what they're about, who they can serve, then actually they could save money and make more money, ironically, by just doing that. But there is a big fear. I've been through it myself. I'm sure you have as well, Rob. There's a big fear when you're starting out. It's like, but especially marketing. Marketing's really hard because we are everything. I mean, marketing is an umbrella term, and it really is. It really is a big term. But there's lots of companies that don't need to spread out so wide. But marketing, even in marketing, you've got to niche it down somewhat. But it's a big umbrella term.
Well, that was my biggest mistake, I think, this past 3 years is not niching down. Even though mentors and programs that I pay for were saying niche down. I'm like, 1 minute I'm doing dental campaigns for private dentists that are trying to sell Invisalign products to market. The next minute I'm working with property companies that are doing high-end villa rentals over in Thailand and stuff like that. The next minute I'm doing something for an e-commerce company. And I had to step back and go, what kind of people do I really like working with? Like, what kind of industry are they in? Okay, they're in this industry. Right, okay, well, within that industry, actually, there's 25 subsets. Which one of those? And I just kept narrowing down and down and down and down to get to a point where it's like, my ideal client has these kind of behaviors, has this kind of business, has this kind of budget, needs these kind of results. They're the kind of people that ideally I want to work with. Yes, I may deviate. I may choose to go and work with a different sort of
yeah, and you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself, but it's really important to focus on.
Well, the reason being is you get seen as the go-to guy. You get seen as the agency that specializes in that stuff, and you start getting renowned for that. You start getting referrals for that sort of stuff. Imagine if you'd run, let's say you're a cake maker.
Yeah.
You only make cakes for prestigious events like, major celebrities' birthdays or local government events or something like that. The difference between you and someone that makes cupcakes for kids' parties is about positioning. You're both effectively using the same ingredients and doing roughly the same thing. And I'm not kind of saying that a cupcake is the same as $10,000 cake. Yeah. But the point being, effectively, you're using the same raw ingredients, but different market, different price point, and all the rest. You would not necessarily think that, the woman that's doing the incredibly expensive cakes would even bother doing the cupcakes. So you wouldn't approach her and ask her that question. Exactly. It just saves everybody wasting time and allows each, particular subset of that niche to actually just concentrate on its core market, which means that it's probably going to sell more quickly, and it's not going to spend as much in wasted advertising.
And that niche for real high-end corporate, or whether it could make a cake for the Queen, for instance, or whatever, unfortunately, it costs more, because the effort you got to put in, the extra advertisements for whatever you do with it, the extra care, you might buy more high-quality ingredients, whatever it may be, for whatever you're using. It does incur a high cost anyway, although it might seem similar, because the person doing it, if they're passionate like us, then you want to put the more effort into it. And I mean, like you, I was everywhere. Like I said, I did a print company before, and since I went into property, I realized to just focus it on marketing with property, pretty much. And I don't even advertise myself out there now. I just don't do sponsors ads. I don't do nothing. I just get people contacting me, and it's just so natural that I don't even bother promoting myself out there for it. But that doesn't mean I doesn't do things, because I can do membership sites for people. So if they've got product or service, I can help them create things online to sell. But it doesn't mean I don't do other things. And the point is, it's so imperative to really focus on a specific area. Have you ever thought about doing? You probably have, because you come from the music background. It's quite interesting, actually, because 3 people I've interviewed recently come from a bit of a background of music, it's quite interesting how I always find that the creatives, the creative background, they tend to go into a lot of them have gone into the digital fields. Like, we're talking 80s, 90s. A lot of the creatives that were back there, music mainly, actually, there's been TV creatives as well. They've all gone into the digital field and do something completely different. It could be producing, movie producers, could be, websites and, sort of like funnels, whatever. But they've all gone into that field. It's quite interesting, because I think there is a simile in the way you create music and the way you plan it out, and the journey of it. And this might sound a bit alien to some people, unless you know a bit of music, but I think there's a simile there with the process of marketing and the digital sort of platforms that you can get into, and how you put these things together, and how it all comes out as a nice tune at the end, or a nice product.
Yeah, it's completely true. I think for anybody that works in the creative space probably uses technology.
Yeah.
Whether it's old school 1/4-inch tapes that I used to use way back when for recording, so the big reel-to-reel machine.
Yeah.
And then we stepped through various technologies like Pro Tools and ADAT recorders, and then eventually it came onto laptops, and then studios are born out of that.
Yeah.
If you're an artist, chances are you're using technology. Even pure art. I think all of us, as like a massive community, effectively, we're doing 2 things. We're blending creativity and technology together.
Yeah.
For me, the only difference, leaving a lot of the print-based brand stuff behind, although I still do that for very high-end clients, not the print stuff, but the brand and brand strategy, is the beauty with digital is you can do stuff quickly, test it quickly, and you've got data at your fingertips. I used to work in a video production studio where we used to do videos for TV advertising all over the world. Well, great. We used to do like radio jingles and stuff. So there were multiple studios, massive green studio where we used to record products and all sorts of stuff. I used to love it because there's creativity, there's storyboards, there's art directors, there's all the gear, there's editing it down, there's post-production, distribution, marketing, and all the rest. But the thing that used to really, really pee me off is you couldn't get the metrics. Like, you put a TV ad out for a major company, what's the view rate? What's the response rate? Well, no idea. With the print stuff, it takes us 3 months to take stuff to print. It's going to take us another week to actually do the fulfillment and distribution. What's the response rate on the ads that are in there? Well, no idea. We don't really know. Like with the digital stuff,
you can track it.
Yeah, you put something out there, you can tell within hours whether this thing's working or not. If you're patient enough to leave it a little while to settle, you can see whether it's a winner or a killer.
Yeah.
And that, for me, was one of the fundamental reasons of bringing creativity and technology together, but settling on digital, because it's the perfect playground for actually creating campaigns and doing marketing. but there's tangible things, there's things that actually leave clues as to whether something's successful or not.
Totally agree. But there's been a massive titanic change recently in digital, and it's happened in a couple of areas. I mean, we've got GDPR number one. You've got the whole situation with Facebook, and there's a lot of challenges on a lot of these big platforms, I call them, whether it be Google, Amazon, Facebook. At the moment, there seems to be, it's probably wrong to say this, but it's almost like it's almost like professional mafia, and there's an element of government trying to take control, and there's good reasons why they can, but there's certain businesses that they're trying to control, and basically tax. It's another way to tax people and so on. And it's right. It's right that they're going down that road, but I think they're underestimating the damage that can do with the progression of how things are moving in the West, and our competition in a market which is so competitive with other countries around the world. And I think what they're doing, where one rule suits us and another suits another. Perfect example is GDPR in America compared to where we are in the UK.
Yeah.
It makes it very, very difficult, for Americans and the British, to be marketing openly and covering all the compliance and so on. Doing it the traditional way. Now, obviously, there's lots of GDPR things you can put in place, and we've got them all in place, and you've got to accept cookies. But what I found is most people, and you probably found the same thing, is most people just accept anyway. It's just like, it's just become a pop-up bum, pop-up bum. It's just another pain for people, and it's what there is talk of is like this was really built up, not just for security, but also to make a bit of money off people, so to find, I don't know, I haven't really got a good judgment on that, but I do feel certain areas, I do feel that there's pressure on the digital industry as a whole. It is coming in on it, and maybe they've had full free reign for too long, maybe they've had it, quite easy for too long, and it's not been regulated enough, and it's only fair because you've got your bricks and mortar shops, for instance, being attacked by the Amazon businesses, and they've got council bills and all the costs that they've got to incur, and like these Amazon businesses haven't, for instance, but there's a balancing act because the world's changing. And
I think with that, when you talk about speed to market with digital, I think there's an interesting paradox with a lot of the digital marketing community, and that is their lack of ability or speed to respond to things that are outside their control. You're always going to get something that disrupts your industry.
Yeah.
Whether that's GDPR or something else. I mean, way back when the big disruptor, the big shift was going from modems to ISDN, broadband.
Yeah.
And then again, like Flash falling off the face of the earth.
I know. Apple pretty much.
So many things happened. A lot.
I learned Flash. I knew how to do animations in it and interactive games.
But agencies have built themselves on Google, and then 2012, 2013, the algorithm changed, and agencies literally collapsed overnight because they were building their empires effectively on a technology, either aware or ignorant or completely unaware that something was going on. It's been the same with GDPR. There's always going to be something in your industry that's going to change, and it's really down to your capability to adapt to that change or ignore that change, depending on whether it's a legal requirement or whether it's just a warning. It's always going to happen. And I think nothing's really changed for hundreds of years around print technology and regional advertising or government jurisdiction or cross-territory, cross-country laws and changes, and the fact that one country needs to adhere to another's and all that stuff. Nothing's really changed. I think what's changed is more visible now because more people are talking about it on social media. And
True.
Actually, you just got to get your head down and deal with it. If you want to ignore that particular legislation, fine, know the consequences. If you need to do something about it, maybe you need to close shop for a few weeks and work it out. But I think it's always going to be like this because social media's got itself a bad rap, and there's all this stuff about freedom of speech, but at the same time, governments want to control certain stuff, and there's
Exactly.
new quality criteria coming in. It's like, just watch this space, because it's always going to be like this now.
I mean, people think that GDPR, well, that was just it, but there's actually other elements coming in place. I think there's one in the early part of 2019.
Yeah.
There's another element that comes in to the GDPR, and this thing will constantly adapt and grow and constantly change. And like you say, like in any historical, realization of any business, they've gone through the same sort of process.
Yeah.
And I think what has really hit me, I think there's been a lot though in this recent year, I'd say, that's come at once, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Normally I've seen things happen and it's come and it's, there's talk of it being sorted and so on, like Flash, for instance. Okay, Apple stopped supporting Flash. Okay, no one thought they would die because of it. In fact, Adobe got really, got their backs up more, started promoting themselves more with other platforms and other businesses like IBM and so on. And in the end, they did die pretty much it's still going. Flash is still going, but it's not really, it's not really Flash anymore, if that makes sense. It's another product, it's another thing. And HTML5, which is why Apple dropped it, they saw more promise in that and and other systems coming out and that would be better than Flash. And to be fair, they've been proven right, I guess. Flash is another program within itself. And I think these open source programs are really great to a certain degree, but a bit like WordPress, it's an open source platform where people can build websites pretty quickly with their own templates. They are immensely prone to hacks. And the amount of people I've had to create websites for that have been hacked on WordPress is why I don't use WordPress. I mean, I can use it. People want one. If they've got WordPress, I'll use it. I do. But I choose not to use that. I choose a really protected server system at the minute. But it just goes to show we're not totally secure. We've got to not be reliant on a certain platform, but also be true to our core. And we are, in theory, consultants more than anything. We might have the tools and the knowledge and and all the other bits that help put these things together and learn the actual, whether it be ClickFunnels, whatever, but they might not be here forever. I think it's really important for people to understand that. But we can still help businesses with our knowledge. And once you've learned one platform, you can pretty much pick up another one, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I've done in my life, pick up a lot of them quite quickly, and I'm sure you can as well.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really important to realise that. But I really have felt a massive increase lately, and if you ever watched the videos, the actual on YouTube when they were grilling Mark Zuckerberg, and you've got these people that are at a certain age in their life and they don't know what Facebook is about really, and they're asking these questions that just don't make sense. They think he's got so much power, he's like a god, and they're grilling him, and he's like, well, they have the option, this and this and that, and he's explaining. And that's the problem, is when you bring these two different forces and these different worlds as such, and it might be generational worlds, there's going to be a clash. There's going to be a clash, and whether we like it or not, if they say go, this goes this way, we might have to follow, whether it works or not, and whether they're right or wrong, might have to follow. So I think it's really important to be, number one, have integrity. So whatever you're doing, whatever platform you're using, you've got to have a lot of integrity. But number two, be very honest with your customer, which is integrity really, about the platform that you're using is just a tool, and that things can change without doubt. But yeah, that's what I would say. But I just want to say, I know we've been going for quite a while, I know you've probably got other stuff going on, but I just want to say it's been really great having you on here, Rob.
No, it's been cool. It will be good to do a follow-up at some point.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely. I'd love to do that. And I normally end with is like, if there's anyone you'd think would be ideal for the Mic Drops Up Close show, drop me a line or mention it now if you want to. If there's someone you think would be ideal within your network, I'd always like to put it out to my guests, because it's always nice to see. Because what I find is people that I connect with, they will connect with other people, and so we'll be connecting on a similar level.
Yeah.
Nice to just have that role. So if there is, just drop them a line and we'll connect and have them on. Yeah, it's been great having you here. But thank you ever so much, Rob. It's really been a pleasure, mate.
No, cheers. I really appreciate that. I'll catch you again soon.
Yeah, you take care, buddy. Thanks again, mate. Thanks again.
Cheers. See ya.
Bye-bye. Brilliant. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to
I
jump.
better wrap it up because it's been quite a while.
No, that's all right. I need to jump onto 11:30 in a sec. But what I'll do is I'll dump this Zoom down. I'll top and tail it if you want, and then put it over on Dropbox.
Okay, cool. Yeah, brilliant. And then I'll just put a mic drop intro and that, and then I'll put it on YouTube, and I'll give you the link and everything. Okay, mate. Brilliant.
Nice.
Thanks.
Good to speak to you. Take care.
You too, mate. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening, then please subscribe to The Mic Drop Show and connect with Michael on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.